Okay, day 4 of science review. And so we've looked the first 3 days at photosynthesis. We're going to change topics today. Now, I'll be really honest with you and to tell you a truth. The truth is, I had taught you photosynthesis before you answered those questions, but I never got to food chains and food webs. I didn't realize they were going to be on the first benchmark test. So if you missed these questions, we're going to look at the next 2 days on food chains and food webs. You can blame me. I give you permission to blame me because I haven't taught it to you yet. So there's no reason you would have known it. But we're going to go ahead and look at a couple questions from the benchmark. Now we're going to go ahead and in this next 9 weeks we're in right now, we'll learn about food chains and food webs. And they're really fun. It's really fun lessons that we'll be doing with them. And so we're going to get there. I just didn't get it done before the first benchmark. So that's my fault, not yours. So let's take a look at the standard about food chains. And it says develop models of terrestrial, that just means on the land, and aquatic, that means in the water, food chains to describe the movement of energy among producers, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and decomposers. So not only do we have the word food chain, but we've got these words here. Producers. We're going to learn producers are plants because they can produce their own food. All producers are plants. Herbivores, well, they're animals that only eat plants. Carnivores, they're animals that only eat other animals. Omnivores are animals that eat plants and animals. Decomposers, they're like worms and mold and stuff like that breaks down dead animals. So those are some things that we'll be learning as we learn more about the food web. Now, the question on your benchmark about food chain, was this question. And so we haven't learned this, so you don't need to feel bad about not knowing it yet. But we've got a food chain here. A food chain looks like this. It starts with always a producer. It always starts with a plant. And so it's got like fern leaves on there here. And the arrow points to what is eating the leaves. And so the arrow is pointing to the grasshopper. So this means the grasshopper eats the leaves. And then the arrow from the grasshopper goes to the frog. That means the frog is eating the grasshopper. And then the arrow from the frog goes to the snake. That means the snake is eating the frog. And the snake goes into the snapping turtle's mouth. The snapping turtle's eating the snake. So that's how a food chain works. It starts with the plants, and then the energy flows from one organism to the next. Grasshopper eats a leaf, a frog eats a grasshopper, a snake eats a frog, a snapping turtle eats the garter snake. So that's what a food chain is. It's just that flow of energy from one animal to another. The energy starts with the producer, the plants. Now, the question on this food chain right here was, how is the frog classified? It means in this food chain, what is the frog? Is he a consumer, a decomposer, an herbivore, or a producer? Remember, we've not gone over that. But let's look at what we've talked about just a minute ago. I told you what those things were, but we'll learn them more in depth later. Let's see what the frog is eating. He is eating a grasshopper. Okay. A grasshopper is another animal. It's an insect, yes, but it's still another animal. So he's not an herbivore because herbivores only eat plants. He's not a producer because producers can only be plants. He's not decomposing something that's dead. He's a consumer. A consumer means something that eats something else. He's actually a consumer that's a carnivore because he's eating another animal. So in this question, the answer is consumer. To consume something means to eat something. There's only one thing on this food chain that is not a consumer. What would it be? The leaves are not a consumer. They're not eating anything else. But everything else, the grasshopper, the frog, and the snake and the turtle, they're all consumers because they're all eating something. They consume something, in other words. Okay? So in this question, the frog is the consumer. Well, like I said, we've not gone over that yet in science class. We'll do some book lessons and activities later on this 9 weeks on these. But today, just to give you kind of an introduction to it, we're going to watch this little video called food chains. It's about food chains. And so you're going to learn a lot about the food chains and those words in that standard like producer and consumer and all that. You'll learn about that in this video. And then you've got a food chain song to listen to. Please do the video and the song after you've listened. Did you hear me? After you've listened to the instructional video and song. Then on the last slide, you can click on this link and you can play a food chain game online. Okay, so enjoy that. Please, please, please listen to the videos before you go play the game. You won't be able to play the game very well till you understand food chains a little bit better anyway. All right, well, we'll learn a lot more about food chains and you'll really like that unit when we get to that in science. Have a good day.